Hello everyone, this is Professor Maria Burns and I'm delighted to present my research presented in the annual conference of the North American Marine Environment Protection Association, this is NAMEPA, for the years 2019 and 2020, held in Houston, Texas. A conference presentation is usually concise. You have time limitations to, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, up to half an hour, where we cannot really verify our analysis. So I need to confirm that the tools that I use are economic analysis, policy analysis, market cycles, and geopolitical analysis. Also, please remember that in my books, Managing Energy Security, Port Management and Operations, Logistics and Transportation Security, and also through my government research with the Department of Homeland Security and a number of articles and papers that I publish, I always substantiate the findings of my research. So I would like to mention one more thing about good old maritime practices. I have served the maritime industry for over 20 years, and I firmly believe in the good old practices. First, always be ready, sempre paratus, but also know where you're going. Ships are ready to navigate the oceans through extreme weather conditions and many challenges. It is always important to have a destination to the trip ahead. Forecasting the market cycles is my passion. I use data science to analyze the market cycles to get some trends and forecast the market ahead. Let us now start the trends analysis for the years to come with what we already know, regulatory framework. The years from 2020 to 2050, we can say, are action-packed in terms of new regulations for the environment, especially the IMO 2020. I have a video that you can watch exactly related to that. So over the past few years, the IMO has introduced environmental regulations to reduce sulfur dioxide, so this is SO2, carbon dioxide, CO2, and greenhouse gas emissions, GHG, from the global fleet. And here is a timeline of the different regulations that are going to be mandated, they will be introduced in the years to come. Again, although I have a video just for IMO 2020 discussing the global sulfur cap, I believe that in the years to come, it's likely that the emission control areas may expand in several regions, which you can see in the yellow rings here. So this is based on discussions at a United Nations IMO level with different governments and authorities. And here again, I would like to recap on the regulatory framework we expect. Low sulfur content in 2020, short-term decarbonization in 2023, mid-term decarbonization, that is 40% reduction of CO2 by 2030, and long-term decarbonization, that is 50% reduction by 2050. In late 2018 and early 2019, the major economic projections by the most authoritative economic bodies around the world saw a modest economic growth led by developing nations. This is a trend that we see objectively. So the leading global economies were seen to somehow slow down because their economies are saturated, and this new era, especially combined with population growth and also the ability to combine low factors of production, cheaper factors of production, would bring this new trend. In the 10-year economic forecast that I provided in February 2019, I saw another picture which was not so positive, as you can see in the red arrow right here. I saw a market slowdown in 2020. due to different factors and variables that contribute to the market cycle fluctuations. That's why I made this video to explain it. On the left-hand side, you can see the official forecasts as of January 2019 by authoritative organizations. 1 month later, in my February 2019 predictions, I pointed out that 2020 was likely to bring an economic slowdown. This is exactly my slide for the time. And as you can see, as of early March 2020, my predictions were accurate. Some of the major commodities and major global markets are slowing down with great market uncertainty. In early March 2020, several front-page news started talking about a potential market slowdown. You will recognize authorities for, the economy, such as JP Morgan, Forbes, Moody's Analytics, and so on. They are talking about a year ahead with some challenges in the economy. Again, in my forecast, I saw a 5-year cycle with a volatile 2020, relative sluggish yet more steady 2021 through 2023, and a challenging 2024 with large-scale automation and artificial intelligence playing a role. Due to the slowdown, innovative technologies will not be widely implemented around 2024, and that is why I believe I see the trends and I estimate that it's going to take a while around 2024 until we use artificial intelligence to a large scale. However, although this is going to be great for organizations, great for the economy, at the same time, it's going to create a challenge for the human factor, labor. And I'm going to discuss this. I have created a couple of slides ahead. So here I justify why I see a challenging 2020, some considerations. First of all, we know that total global debt exceeds $257 trillion at a global level as of the first quarter of 2020. And we see some of the major economic powers in the world are the ones involved with this global debt. At the same time, if we were to investigate the root cause of these challenges, we would see banking and investment system, global networks and alliances, overly tight monetary policy, environmental regulations, and the healthcare system. Again, as of March 2020, we realize that the coronavirus is just the tip of the iceberg because we need to create a new banking structure to be able to help the disrupted supply chains. The healthcare system is not robust enough now with coronavirus in order to help the entities around the world, governments, people, companies that have been afflicted by coronavirus. But it's not only that, we can see many more factors. So let us just move on to the different factors that play the role in the global market slowdown that we expect in 2020. There is a need to invest in sea, land, air infrastructure, and we need more visibility. At the same time, new environmental regulations. We talk about blockchain, we talk about artificial intelligence, and we also see the old banking systems not being responding properly to the challenges and opportunities of the new era. So these are some areas that would need improvement. At the same time, here are the variables that I use to determine a challenging 2020. Global debt, the oil price. We see that as of early March 2020, there is a conflict within OPEC nations. We see Russia, Saudi Arabia having this kind of conflict about how much should OPEC be producing, how much should the price of oil be based on, supply, demand variables. Um, I see also the tariffs and the trade wars have been around as a challenging component by late 2019. And at the same time, there is mass migration, global refugee crisis. Again, starting as of late 2019, we could just see the market being impacted by these scenarios and these trends. However, because this is all about a market cycle and things are, according to my predictions, going to get better by 2021, 2, and 3, we know that every time there is a global debt, at the same time there is a global surplus. So we anticipate the entities that own this surplus to start injecting the global economy with some healthy investments. At the same time, although the oil price has been afflicted for early 2020, for the years to come, there is tremendous potential in terms of refineries because this is a new era with all these new environmental regulations. We know that refineries are now working full steam ahead. They have all these new products, new types of products for energy. And in addition, we see new technologies and so on. So that is going to really bring growth to particular technological segments and also energy segments. We spoke about trade wars and tariffs, but this is also a great opportunity for governments and industries to reshape their trade alliances. Also, we spoke about the refugee crisis, and we do hope, exactly because the situation is very critical, just observe Europe, what is happening. Just observe what happens in the American continent, especially America's southern border. So hopefully some new regulations, new policies are going to bring solutions, a win-win, and more stability into the markets. And let's move on now to my next slide. Automation and artificial intelligence will highlight the need for generous cybersecurity investments. You see, everything now is shifting towards cyber. Remember that as of early 2020, global companies increasingly rely on cyber platforms. However, as we can see in this diagram found in my book, Managing Energy Security, the industries are not investing in cybersecurity as much. This means that many companies and governments are exposed to the new threats. At the same time, we are moving ahead into more, cyber, blockchain technologies, and so on. We expect from 2020 onwards to invest heavily both in cyber and physical security. These are going to be the trends. And to recap, here are some elements to consider. Late 2020 to early 2021, it's likely that the peak of a crisis or this kind of the challenges will have to be addressed, the market volatility, power struggles. But I see this throughout 2020 with some big events escalating by late 2020, early 2021. Again, we see geopolitical and socioeconomic turmoil, globalization versus protectionism. Which entity is going to win? Definitely, the American elections are going to decide upon that, and they're going to show the way to other global economies. We see that 2021 is going to initiate a new market cycle and a new era ahead. Remember, 2023-2024 is going to bring a new cycle and a challenge in the human factor, the labor market, exactly because large-scale automation is going to create a crisis there. This is the reason why in my predictions I see that 2024, 2025 will bring a challenge again and a new market cycle. And this, ladies and gentlemen, was my forecast for the next decade. Remember, I'm using data analysis and geopolitical observations. This is not about a crystal ball, just a lot of study and fact-based analysis. Thank you for watching.